Okay, hello everyone, and just a bit of warning. There's there's some remodeling of our ceiling going on. So if you're hearing that kind of noise, don't worry about it. Like it's well, I don't well. Hopefully, it's not disturbing. Anyway, so today, I guess I should preface this. So I'm a long-time role-playing gamer. Like from like the first time I ever played Dungeons and Dragons was in 1987. So that's 35 years ago. I think it's actually like it was beginning of June, so it's going to be 35 years pretty soon. I'm not a big fan of Dungeons and Dragons per se these days. I do like role playing games very much. Just role playing games with just a little bit more like, how should I put this? I don't know. Well, character, like less emphasis on combat. I guess that's a good way to do it. But so okay. Seeing the new background mechanic, I was inspired to actually think about this again, and like commander point of view. And so what I like to do today is make a deck based specifically on these new commanders and the new backgrounds. But I do want to have like a weird combination of like me as a role-playing gamer and me as like someone who actually enjoys more strategic gaming. I'm never going to make a deck that isn't playable in Commander, but at the same time, I do actually enjoy the game, so I'm never going to make a deck that is just going to combo out everyone on turn 2 or 3 or whatever, or even 5, or actually ever. I actually do like the grindier games. And I'm using Scryfall here because if you paid into the Scryfall thing, I think it's $10, you can actually do this. You can make decks with this. So I am going to do that. If I can just remember how it's done. I haven't done this in a while. Let's see. Your decks. I guess that's kind of obvious. Okay, new decks. Commander. So now, I don't have to type every card here. I can instead go and search and take a look at different cards. And now, like, this is now the default deck. So when I go and search for cards, I can just add them directly here. So let's start with this. What cards do we have that have the background mechanic, and what backgrounds do we have available? So I did read through this earlier, and they cover a bunch of different kinds of characters, obviously. But so what immediately drew me in was Alora, Merry Thief. Now, I don't actually know where this character is from. Like, these are all obviously like Baldur's Gate characters, so Waterdeep characters. I don't know if any of these have been created specifically for this for this Magic the Gathering product, or are they all from various Forgotten Realms products? And I mean, it's Forgotten Realms has been around for so long that it's very much possible that all of these are from some various products. But anyway, Alora, this is the kind of character I like. Like, well, depending on the game, I do sometimes play much more morose characters, but someone who has this. Well, I like thieving kinds of characters, rogues. So yes, that's one thing. And it's a specifically merry thief. And yes, I like that. Like certain, so I like playing the characters that have certain irreverence for the rules of the society. So yes, Alora is going to be my commander. So what I can do here, it's just I'll just press A and it has been added to my deck. Although I have to go and move it to the commander position, but yeah, okay. So now next, we should try to find a background. So I'll change this. I'll take out all the actual and just look at the backgrounds. So if you read the ability of Alora, so Alora was a 3-mana 3/2, and when it attacks, I actually forgot how it exactly worded, but anyway, I think it has to attack, or when a creature attacks, not sure. You can make one of those creatures unblockable, and then that creature returns to your hand at the end of turn. Okay, so how can you abuse this? And well, me being me, I'm not going to try to actually abuse this. I am going to try to find value out of this. And the best way to find value out of something like this is obviously looking at enters the battlefield and leaves the battlefield triggers. So, what colors have these kinds of triggers that I would like to use? Well, green has some. Green has like Elvis Visionary, which can draw you cards. Things like Sylvan Rager, which can find you a land, a basic land, or well, other elves that ramp you when they enter the battlefield. Black has some card draw, like what's it called? The Vampire, which is basically Elvis Visionary, but you have just to pay. You have to pay your life, and then there's the Phyrexian, whatever it's called. It's 3-mana 2/2, draws you a card. Yeah, but Black also has things like Ravenous Chupacabra, which just destroys a creature. These were called 187s back in the day because of some code for murder in, I think, in California or whatever. So yeah, so these are also a thing. And in general, I know a lot more about green and black in Commander. So for that, just for that purpose, I'm more likely to do that than anything else. I don't like white generally as a. I'm not talking about the quality of the cards. It's just, you know, I don't like the philosophy behind white. Just not for me. Especially like from fictional purposes. And red I do enjoy, but I haven't played much red, so maybe I'll just. And yeah, I do want to have a 2-color because blue doesn't have that many good ETP effects. It had some, like being able to recast Snapcaster Mage is going to be very nice. So what I'll do is color identity is less than green, black. So I have 11 different options. Okay, 10. I'm not going to use the Faithless one. So let's look at these a little bit closer. So the first one, commander creatures you own have the first dragon spell you cast each turn costs 3 less to cast. No, that doesn't sound something I would like to have, except this does have a benefit. If I have a dragon that has an ETP effect or leaves the battlefield effect, this would be a very nice way of recasting that over and over again. But on the other hand, how many of these are there in blue and green? Probably not that many. Like the amount of they only get blue and green only get dragons when there's like dragon specific set. So yes, there's like a very good blue dragon in AFR, and there's like back in Khan's block there's some fairly good, I think, except that they're good for like constructed like 60 card formats, not necessarily Commander. So no, Agent of the Iron Throne. Commander creatures you own have, whenever an artifact or creature you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, its opponent loses 1 life. I don't think, like, this is good value card. Like, no, well, not a good value card, but something that you can, like, you can build the deck definitely around this, but not something I'm interested in here, because my creatures are going to be ones that opponents are not necessarily going to be using their limited removal on my creatures, because they're going to be small and insignificant and, you know, just like value. When they enter the battlefield, you get the value then. So my opponents are not necessarily going to be that interested in you know, killing them, except that obviously they don't want me to gain that infinite value, except that, like, drawing 1 card each turn is not that great value. But anyway, okay. Commander creatures you have, whenever this creature attacks a player, if no opponent has more life, then that player put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. It gains death touch and indestructible until end of turn. Yeah, this is interesting, but since I want to bounce my creatures, no, it wouldn't work out. Like, I would be losing those +1/+1 creatures. Okay, so Clockwood Hermit. Commander creatures you own have, at the beginning of your end step, if a creature card was put into your graveyard from anywhere this turn, create 2 tapped 1/1 Squirrel creature tokens. Nah, okay, so there's a specific card with background that can use this, because it gives all tokens you have add green. So I think this is specifically designed for that. Then Criminal Past. Commander creatures you own have menace, and this creature gets +X+0, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Okay, that sounds interesting. This could be one. Like, we don't necessarily mind our creatures going into the graveyard as long as we have some value from them. So yeah, and green black is very good at self-milling if you want to do that, but we'll have to think about it. Then Cultist of the Absolute. Commander creatures you own get +3/+3, have flying, death touch, ward 3, and the beginning of upkeep, sacrifice a creature. No. Like, I think this is fun, and this could be interesting. This could be very interesting. But I also think that this would screw me over at some point. Then Hardy Outlander. Commander creatures you own have, whenever this creature attacks a player, if an opponent has more life than that player, another target creature control gains +X/+X until end of turn, where X is this creature's power. Okay, well, it's good for beatdowns, not necessarily for me. Commander creatures you own have this creature. So I'm moving into Master Chef. So commander creatures you have, this creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. Other creatures you control enter the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter at them. Nah. Raised by Giants. Okay, this would be interesting. Commander creatures you own have base power and toughness 10/10, and are giants in addition to the other types. So okay, yes, Giant Thief is in itself funny. Although I guess this is more like being culturally giant than anything else, based on the image. Yeah. Okay, and finally, Scion of Halaster. Commander creatures you own have, the first time you would draw cards each turn, instead look at the top card of your library. Put one of them into your graveyard and the other back to the top of your library, then draw a card. Yes, this sounds good to me. Okay, so edit deck. So let's move both of these to Commander. Okay, so what we want next is well, basically a bunch of enters the battlefield effects, but also because we now have this specific background, things like opt and consider would be nice, and also things that we can cast from the graveyard or other things that we can use the graveyard to our advantage. So let's start with this. I guess I should. Color identity is less or equal to blue-black. Oh, okay. How many of these are there? 1,640. Okay, that's way too many. So let's start with. Okay, let's start with creatures that draw us cards. Internet treachery. Do we want that? I mean, yes, but also no. I just don't like to play in a way where like I'm frustrating my opponents by stealing their stuff. Although if they are playing in a way that I need to be able to interact all the time, then I don't mind. But anyway, okay. So Baleful Strix, one of my favorite cards ever. Easy choice. Okay, so how did the Alora, how was it worded? At the beginning of the next end step. So this doesn't trigger. Um, hmm. Can we use the Baron's ability? I don't think so. Okay, this one we do want because it's flexible. Like exiling target player's graveyard is obviously always good. So yes, we want to do that. Um, Cavalier of Gales. Um, well, it's a 5-mana 5/5, so why not? The casting cost is a bit of a problem, but sure. Um, let's see what else. Champion of Wits. I do like Champion of Wits. It can put more things into a graveyard, but we can also cast it from our graveyard if we put it there through other means. So yes, definitely. Cloud Seer. Not quite that big of a fan of it, but I still do like it. Is Dire Undercurrent good? Well, yes, but not that good. Doctor Detective, what is this? Surveil to when it enters battlefield. When an opponent draws their second card each turn, you may return Doctor Detective from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, that is interesting. I don't know which set this is from, but probably a commander set. But yes, it feels like something I would like to play. Dream Thief, not that good. Actually, kind of bad. Uh, Triple Tip is nice. And I mean, Here, yeah, Clackbit Stroll. I do like this. It's big and it has uh, potential for diplomacy. So that's why I like it. I do like the idea that uh, I can give those tokens to a specific player and just have a piece with them. Gravelighter, I like that as well. I do like Glintry Stefaner, but no, I don't think so. What else? What else can we find? I mean, there must be some other good ones. Muldrifter, yeah, Muldrifter is obviously so flexible that we do want to use it. We might just use as divination much of the time, but yeah. Moonshade Pixie. That is that good. The problem is that since I can't cast it again at the same turn, it deals damage to someone. But it does have, it can give flying to creatures. So in that sense, it can be kind of beneficial. It can allow us, to do a lot of damage. But that still doesn't seem like that good. Okay, Psychic Symbiont, I have a lot more love for than I should, but I don't think it's not actually that good. River Kelpie, I like it. It's just not that. Just not that like, well, it's a bit too expensive. Sire of Stagnation, what does it do? Um, not okay. Solemn Simulacrum. Um, I'm not as big a fan of Solemn Simulacrum as many of the other players I know, just because it's a bit too expensive. Like, I do like the ramp a lot, but I do want my ramp to cost no more than 3. And the reason for this is that I specifically want to be able to keep hands. Like I will keep a hand with 3 lands in it most of the time in Commander. It has to be very weird. I have to. It has to be a very weird situation for me to mulligan a hand with 3 lands in Commander. So I want to be able to function with those 3 lands, and if that means that okay, yes, if I have ramp, I need to have that be able to cast that ramp with those three lands, or like I don't necessarily even have to ramp, just draw extra cards or whatever, so that I can ramp later on. Thought Sponge, what is that? Flash. And there's a battlefield, and our Pascal equals to the greatest number of cards an opponent has drawn this turn. Okay, I do like this. Don't know if it's any good, but I do like it. Tomb Raider. I guess I just don't want to generally play cards that are strictly worse than some other cards I'm playing, and I'm playing Cloudkin Seer, which is basically the same thing except that it's a 2/1. And it's an elemental, which can also be important in some situations. Not this deck, but in some situations. Compound Blitz is something that I would be in some ways interested in, but yeah, not that interested. Actually, let's put it in. I do like having card selection in my deck. So this is what we have right now. 13 cards. So a lot to do. Yes, whenever you attack, so Alora herself doesn't have to attack. So yes, that's good to remember. But okay, so next we want other kinds of effects, like well, we want Ravenous Chupacabra. So enters battlefield, destroy, and Big Game Hunter. I do like Big Game Hunter quite a bit. Also, I do like Cavalier of Night quite a bit. We have many value creatures in our deck currently. So yes, why not? Do we want something like Deathbringer Regent? I mean, why not? I like Guildleaf Winnower. Like, Guildleaf Winnower is definitely has like blind spots. There's situations where it just doesn't do what you want what you want it to do. But I think that's the kind of card we actually need in the game. We want to have cards that have like, well, weird effects. Not everything is answer to everything all the time. And I do want to have like one sweeper kind of ETP creature. So that's going to be that. Because, well, most of our creatures give us value when they enter the battlefield. So we don't generally care if they die. We don't necessarily want them to die because we do want to get, we do want to be able to, you know, replay them all over and over again. So in that sense, it's not that good, but it's, you know, good enough. Yes, I'll add Hagra Mauling, even though it doesn't necessarily have any specific synergies in the deck, but you know, it's just, I can just play more lands. And I always want to play more lands. In general, I like to play 40 lands plus whatever. Noxus Gearhulk. I like Noxus Gearhulk. The added life can be meaningful. I also like Necrotal. Necrotal is like, that's the original 187 creature. This, like, well, at some point, like back in, I think it's Mirage or Visions. I think originally from Visions, maybe, because this goes back so far in the past, like 25 years or whatever. That was the first set when they added these into the battlefield effects on creatures, and Necrotal was one of the first ones. There was also like Manowar and I guess these two are the ones that are still widely known. I don't even remember the other ones. I guess we could add Manowar as well, just for, you know, why not? Overseer of the Damned, that I do like. It is 7 mana. I don't want to have very many 7 mana creatures in my deck, or 7 mana cards for that matter. So okay, my philosophy is that yes, you do need to have a lot of mana sources in your deck, but you also need to have ways to use that mana, like drawing cards and whatever. And you want to have mana available just to be able to interact. Driving a supercar prop, yes, definitely. Shriekmaw, yes, why not? We'll figure out what we'll do with the graveyard later on. I mean, obviously. We will need. I do want to place. Okay. Do I want to play Snapcaster? I do like to keep the budget. Keep this in budget at least somewhat. So in that sense, like Snapcaster Mate is not going to be cheap. So that's a bit of a problem. But what else? Okay, so here's one. I like Tetsimok. Tetsimok has a very weird effect on the game, which in some ways I don't like, in some ways I do like, because your opponents don't. If they know that you have Tetsimok in hand, they're going to play differently. That is going to affect the whole game because they're not going to be able to answer it necessarily, or maybe they are, but they're not going to want to play creatures because they know that Tetsimok might be coming, but at the same time they want you to use the Tetsimok, so they might want to play certain creatures just entice you to play Tetsimok if you've already activated it. So I like that kind of like push and pull. So how many cards we have? 21. So that's 8 more cards. Okay. Let's see. We still have plenty of room. So again, enters battlefield, and CI is less than. Okay, return. Let's try this. Is there anything interesting here? I would like to put Manovar. Where is Manovar? Well, obviously how many of these are there? 196. Okay, so yeah. Plenty of room to go. And a snipe. Oh, we have fairly cheap creatures in our deck. So let's put Agalim's Awakening into the deck as well. Just because, well, yeah. Well, because we have cheap creatures, maybe we do want like maybe we do want like have a 1-drop just for that, but we'll see. It's not necessary. Cloudstone Curio. I think that's extremely expensive currently, but it is a card I like. Let's see if the price of the deck seems too much, then I'll just remove it from the deck. I'm also putting in the Cyclone Summoner, which returns all non-giant wizard and land permanents to their owner's hands. So it's just a reset if you feel like, and I know some people hate those, but don't force me to reset the game, so then I don't have to. Dog Detective I already have in the deck. Dream Eater I also like. Does it? It's a non-land permanent, so yes. Dream Eater is interesting. Exclusion Mate is pretty much the same as Manowar, but you can't bounce your own creatures, and that's a bit of a limitation I don't necessarily want. But Gravesifter, maybe. Or, I mean, Gravedigger, is that going to be better? Yes. The problem with Gravesifter, since I just put the Cyclone Summoner into the deck. So Cyclone Summoner doesn't bounce Gravesifter. So I'll put the Gravedigger into my deck instead. I don't know if it's still good in 2022, but we'll see. Yeah, Manowar, obviously. Well, it isn't that obvious, but obvious to me. And also, like this is Maliki Rebirth. This is a great card, especially in a deck like this, because you can get immediate if all of your creatures have enters the battlefield effects or leaves the battlefield effects, you can get extra value from this, and it's also obviously also an additional land if you need it to use it as a land, and it's only 1 mana, which is in itself great. Sure, it costs a little bit of life, but who cares about life when you have 40 of it? Well, you should care, but anyway. Actually, ninjas. Yeah, we don't actually care. Yeah, I'll have to think about that. Yeah, we'll have to look at ninjas. And yes, I know if you read my stuff, it happens quite often that I just somehow manage to manage to find myself in ninjas quite often, but don't tell anyone. I'll do. I don't care. Anyway, where was I? Undead Vampire Charm Seeker. What is this? So many cards I just don't know anymore. But Venser. Yes, okay. Venser used to be kind of unique, but it's not anymore. Okay, since we're probably self-milling quite a bit, I will put the Liliana fangirl into the deck. I think it's a girl, not sure. Yeah, but okay, so now that ninjutsu from specifically these colors. So which ones do we want? I don't. It's on. Yeah, it's that player. You can't be very. There's a limitation on how political you can be with this, but doesn't matter that much. I do like the silencer as well. Obviously, Fallen Shinobi. I do have my problems with that card, but don't worry about them right now. Yeah, Higure, definitely. Infiltrator, definitely. Whoops. No. What's going on? Okay. Ink Eyes, I do like. Little bit on the expensive side, and I do want to limit the amount of creatures that or things that enables me to play other people's cards because other people don't like it, and I do like to have like I would rather have an interesting environment than. And having said that, yeah, Nashi. just look the other way. Do as I say, don't do as I do, and stuff like that. Ninja of the deep hours, that's always good. And also, I will put in, yeah, Satoru Omazawa. I mean, that will always get killed immediately, but we don't have to worry about that. What did Yuriko do? Is it worth it to? Whenever a ninja you control this combat damage the player, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to that card's converted mana cost. Sure, why not? And Walker of the Secret Ways. Ninjutsu. Return target ninja you control to its owner's hand. Activates. Bit on the expensive side, it seems like hard to use, but I'm also enticed by it just a little bit. But yeah, okay. So here's the situation. We have 39 creatures, 1 artifact. Okay, I'll remove the artifact. It's if it's too expensive, I'm not gonna play it. Just no. Where is it now? Clone. Okay, there. Remove. And clean up. So the cleanup just orders this by CMC, so you can get an idea on what your deck looks like from that point. So sorceries, Yuriko is like 12, Higure is like over 20. Good to know. Academy's Awakening is 16. So the total price in euros is like 60. And I do like to watch it specifically in euros because I live in Europe and cards are generally cheaper in Europe. Like currently USD and euro are pretty much the same at the same price, but for some reason cards in euro are just much lower. Well, not much lower, and there's differences. Some cards are much more expensive in the US and than they are in Europe and so forth. But okay, so because of the Scion of Halaster, which again said that the first card you draw, the first time you would draw a card each turn, instead look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your graveyard, the other on top of your library, then draw a card. So what I will do is type instant draw and CMC equals 1, and okay, ancestral recall, we won't be doing that. Aspotic wins, well, no. Brainstorm, do you want to play Brainstorm? Yeah, I'll put in Brainstorm. I mean, yeah, not my favorite thing to do, but okay. Consider, like, yeah, Brainstorm is very powerful card, but it's very powerful in specific situations where you can shuffle your deck well regularly or with ease, like in Legacy where you're going to be playing like 12 fetches or whatever. So yeah, under those conditions, it's very good. Quicken, that might be interesting. We'll have to see if I want to play Quicken in the long run, but it can be quite interesting. Could be quite interesting. And Visions of Beyond, yes, sure. Okay, so the situation is now that I have 39 creatures, 8 instants, and 1 sorcery. So that's and plus the commander. So that's 48 cards, and I do want 40 lands. So that gives me, even though I have some uh, MDFCs, MFD. What are they called? Well, what I'm talking about, Molecule Rebirth and so forth. I have 3 of those currently in the deck. But I'm not counting those as lands because these are cards I specifically want to use. I will use them as lands if needed. And I have some card draw, like smoothing out my, especially with Scion of Halaster, definitely smooths out my curve. Now, do I want some ramp? Yes. What kind of ramp do I want? I want well, obviously it needs to be artifacts. So color equals colorless. CMC is 2 or I guess 4 or less than 4, 3 or less, and it has to say add. Actually, I think it should be color identity is less than or equal to. Okay, and let's see, how did I do this? Is it this way? Yes. Okay, type artifact. Okay, Arcane Signet. I hate that card, but I guess sure. I hate that card so much. Just shouldn't exist. Cold Steel Heart. Sure. The problem with adding all of these cards, obviously, into our deck is that we do have some cards that we would like to play very early, including the commander and the background. So in that sense, adding these kinds of cards is not necessarily a good idea, but I do want to have some, especially since we do still have like those cards that cost quite a bit of mana. So what is this? Sacrifice. Oh, it's Mind Stone. Oh, we've only seen. Okay, sure. Actually, Mind Stone is a good addition. I do want to have. I guess the Dimir Signet would be a fine addition. I'm not gonna play Sol Ring, even though I hate Arcane Signet. I do hate Sol Ring more. Is that true? No, not actually. It's not actually true. I do hate Arcane Signet more, just because at that point they should have known better, but they just didn't, or they didn't care. So yeah, there's that. I put like 4 cards in the deck now, so yeah. Let's see if there's like some 3-mana card I might still want to add. Did I add the Dimmer Signet? Not sure anymore. But just to make sure, add to deck. And before adding the last few finishing touches, so I have 5 cards that ramp me, the artifacts. So that's lower than I would generally like, but I think it's okay here. So that's 44 52, 53, 55. So that gives me room for 5 additional cards. And I do have one creature that rats the board in specific situations, and I don't like to play more than that. What I would like to have, okay, let me think about this for a second. Oh yes, now I know. Okay. Oh, search type creature. Let's see if we can find some tutoring, but creature-based tutoring. And CI is less than equal. I do have one specific card in mind. I just don't remember the exact name of it right now. It's a demon, 6 mana from Kaldheim. Runescarred Demon might be interesting, but no thanks. I like playing. Tutors are one of those things I don't like to play too many of. Because there it is, Burning Rune Demon. Because it's usually like, sure, Demonic Tutor is a good card, but you also have very many good cards in your deck. So basically, you're adding 2 mana to any card that otherwise, you're adding 2 mana to something that, like, so your card is not efficient after that. So in that sense, I'm not a big fan of it. Actually, I put a Burnist Heart, so I now have 6. Also, I do have Solemn Simulacrum in the deck, so that's one more ramp card. But okay, so I put 2 more cards in the deck, so I have room for 3 more. And one thing I would like to have is something that returns all the creatures to hand. So Cyclonic Rift is obviously the most common one, but in here, since I have so many creatures that specifically want to have enters the battlefield effects, I don't necessarily mind returning them, all creatures, to my hand as well. And I don't actually want to even win with Cyclonic Rift. But okay, so one thing I will add is Either Eyes every time. I guess Either Spouts as well. But let's see if we can find what would be a good one. I guess let's see. There is one. How is it worded if I can't see it? Part the Whale. Part the Whale I like. Not sure I like it that much. Okay, Either Spouts is one card. One card I want. Spouts. Yes, add that to the deck. And is it Evacuation? Is that the card I'm thinking of? Yes, okay. So, I wouldn't mind having a couple of like counter spells in the deck. Like there's some creatures that can counter as well, which would be helpful here because I can return them to my hand, and yes, but they're also quite expensive in general. So like this is kind of a casual deck in many ways. The CMC is higher than I generally would like. As you can see, I have like 2 7-drops. Some like 4/6 drops, quite a few 5 drops, and in general, that's not for me. But I like how the deck would probably play out. So like this is where I would start from, and depending on the one problem with this is that I'm not currently using the graveyard as aggressively as I could. I'm doing something to abuse the graveyard, but not enough. So that would be one area where definitely this needs work. I do have like Young Necromancer here and Gravedigger and some other things that return cards to my hand from the graveyard, but not enough. So if you're up to playing Rise of the Dark Realm, so yeah, sure, that's one way to go, and or maybe play escape cards or whatever. That would actually probably be a good idea. What's that thing called? That card that exiles. There's a 1-mana black card that exiles cards from graveyards, and it has escape. So that might be a good addition, especially if other players in your group like to use graveyards to their advantage. But otherwise, like this is, quite casual, quite value deck. No combos, some interaction, not that much. Couple of reminders that maybe you don't want to be attacking me specifically. Not that many expensive cards. Higure is a bit more expensive than I would like. And Yuriko is a bit more expensive than I would like. As it's Academ's Awakening, but Academ's Awakening is a land, and it's, I don't know, and obviously this doesn't include land. So currently the estimated price is like 81 euros. So adding the lands would probably push that over 200. So yeah, but I don't like to just use the lands you have. I don't like to put very much thought into it. So yeah, so this is it at this time. But yes, thank you for listening, and I'll see you again sometime. Thanks.